Is buying an $85,000 Tesla for driving a rideshare like Uber and Lyft a good choice? Let's find out on today's video. Hey everyone, my name is Chris and welcome to the Rideshare Guy. And today we're going to be evaluating, is an electric vehicle a much better option than a gas-powered car when it comes to a person who bought a $85,000 Tesla for Uber and Lyft. We're going to look at the interview, and if you want to see the interview in full, you can check out the link in the description below, which will take you to an article from the rideshareguy.com, and you can see exactly what it looks like there. Now, first off, EVs, whether you love them or hate them, they're here. They're coming, and more auto manufacturers are going to be making them. You have Ford starting with the F-150. They're going to be coming out later this year. GM has the Hummer. There's plenty of different vehicles that are coming onto the market over the next year or two, and several auto manufacturers will be going into electric vehicle fleets. So they are here, and they are here to stay. There are a number of good things when it comes to having an EV, especially when you're on the road as much as a rideshare driver is, especially when you are doing food delivery or rideshare driving full time. Now, that is a huge thing because there is one major expense when it comes to any driver on the road, and that is gas. If you have a regular gas-powered vehicle, you have to fill up your tank all of the time, and gas prices are fluctuating. And unfortunately, they're not going lower right now. They're going up. And another nice thing about EVs is the maintenance on an electric vehicle is much, much different than a gas-powered car. Again, if you're driving and you're driving full-time, you're putting a lot of miles on your car, whether it's an electric vehicle or a gas-powered vehicle. But with a gas-powered vehicle, that means there's a lot more parts, there's a lot more moving parts, and a lot more maintenance when it comes down to it. So let's weigh some of the differences and look at the true ownership of an electric vehicle versus a gas-powered vehicle. And maybe, who knows, it might sway your opinion on what you thought about EVs. So here at the Rideshare Guy, we had sit down and talked with a driver in the San Francisco market who bought an $85,000 Tesla for driving Uber and Lyft. Now, you might say, why would you spend $85,000 on a car, let alone for Uber and Lyft? And we're going to break down a few of those to show you that EVs might actually be a much better option when it comes to rideshare driving. And again, link is going to be in the description below, so if you want to read the interview in full, then you can. Now, in 2018, Shannon purchased a Tesla Model S for $85,000 and pretty much never looked back. Now, Shannon has been driving rideshare, both Uber and Lyft, from 2015, but full-time after being laid off starting in 2016. And has been since. And in 2018, he looked at his car expenses and realized how much money he was actually spending both in gas and maintenance, and figured out exactly how much per day he was actually spending. He says, I drive a lot, at least 12 hours per day, said Shannon. In 2018, when gas prices in California were well over $4 per gallon, I knew I couldn't put $60 a day into my car like that. And with the amount of money that Shannon was spending per month on gas alone, it would have covered the cost of the monthly payment for the Tesla Model S. So it ended up becoming a no-brainer. And at first he was kind of nervous about it, but then decided, hey, this is going to be worth it, and let's try it and see what happens. And since then has never looked back. One of the common misconceptions when it comes to an electric vehicle is a lot of people don't understand range. So they think they need to have the most amount of range, 300, 400, 500 miles on one charge. But in the reality of it, most drivers don't drive over 10, 20 miles per day, which means they have every vehicle out there will be enough to be able to charge and go to and from work in your normal places. Now, for rideshare driving, that might be a little bit different. You might be putting on a few hundred miles a day. So range is going to be a little bit more impacted at how much a particular car can hold when you're a rideshare driver. Hence Tesla. Tesla has quite a few vehicles where you can get 250, 350 or so miles per charge. And that's really good when it comes to the range. And that could be potentially an entire day's worth of driving if you're in Uber or Lyft or any other gig platforms. But when it comes to charging itself, yeah, if you're charging at home, it could be 8 to 12 hours. But if you visit a supercharger, you could potentially get 80% of charge in just about 30 minutes. So that is enough time where you could go to a supercharger midday or mid-shift and actually get a little bit to eat, walk around, stretch, get some fresh air, read a few pages from a book, whatever it might be for that half hour, get your charge back up to 80%, and then head out and start driving again. Now, yes, there is going to be a cost associated with charging your car, but the thing is, it's always going to be much, much lower than whatever you're paying at the pump. So you can see that just that right there is going to cost you much less and save you more money in the long run, meaning any money you make on the Uber or Lyft platform or any of the gig platforms is more money that will stay in your pocket. Now, I did say earlier that maintenance costs also go away when it comes to EVs. EVs maintenance costs are much, much different because there's less moving parts in the car and less chance of failure. So that means around 90% of your maintenance costs could be eliminated just by driving an EV over a gas-powered vehicle. Shannon said, when I broke down the costs, getting a Tesla seems like a no-brainer. Every 50,000 miles, I needed new brakes, and every 3,000 miles or so, an oil change. Based on my driving habits, I was doing 110,000 miles each year, which would wear down a regular car every 2 years, and I didn't want to keep buying new cars. He goes on to say, I now have more than 256,000 miles on my Tesla and have not had much to do to maintain that. I took my car in for service 3 weeks ago because I found out my coolant levels were low, and I also got the AC recharge and rotated my tires. All of this ran me a little over $300, which is not bad at all given how much I drive the car. Now you might be asking, well, what is Shannon's driving habits? He drives 5 days a week at about 12 hours a day and averages a little over $40 an hour. So he's making around $1,800 a week, and that's pretty common for him to see. He also has estimated that he's saved between $20,000 and $30,000 just by switching from a gas-powered car to an EV. And Shannon also has 3 different tips that you should take if you want to make sure that charging doesn't really get in the way of being a rideshare driver. The first tip, take advantage of the supercharging if it's an option to you. Second tip, once you hit 20% battery, then stop and recharge. And the third tip he says when driving an EV is consider opening the door for your passengers because the Tesla handle could be a little bit tricky for some passengers. But when comparing this and sitting down and talking, he also said, if driving a Tesla is right for you or not, you have to weigh the different options, the costs, and see if it's an appropriate change for you or not. But you really have to sit down, do your homework on what you're spending in gas, your maintenance, all of the things that are associated with your vehicle, and then see what it'll cost you if you drove an electric vehicle and see exactly the difference between the two, if it would save you money in the long run or not. All right, and the last factor, if you are looking at an EV, is cost. Yes, I get it. An $85,000 Tesla Model S is expensive for most people. If you break down the costs, though, it might not be as bad as you expect. And if you are able to use the knowledge that you know when it comes to expenses to lower your expenses and also make more money, well, then it might behoove you. Oh, and for the record, yes, I'm evaluating an EV for my driving as well, too. Now, not only that, you don't have to have a $85,000 Tesla. You can look at several other EVs that are on the market that are much cheaper and just as good. So there are more and more cars coming to the market each and every single month. And 2021 and 2022 is going to be big. The biggest thing is, though, you always want to try to reduce as much of your expenses to keep the most amount of money in your pocket instead of going to these expenses. And I gotta say, an EV is probably the best option for any rideshare driver, any food delivery driver, anybody who's using their vehicle in the gig economy, because it's going to help offset several of those costs and protect you against surging prices like gas. Now, I just want to thank Shannon for helping share that information. And if you want to see more information from his interview, make sure you check the link in the description below, and you will be able to see all the differences when it comes to rideshare driving, food delivery, gig economy work, and owning an EV versus a gas-powered vehicle. Now, what are your thoughts on this? Comment below, let us know. Let us know what you think about EVs versus gas. If you have any questions when it comes to EVs versus gas-powered. And for drivers out there, have you made the switch from a gas-powered car to an EV? Comment below, let us know. Now, if you like saving money, if you like reducing your expenses and putting more money in your pocket, make sure you give this video a thumbs up. Also, subscribe, ring the bell for notifications so you'll be notified every time new videos come out on how to maximize your earnings, how to keep more money in your wallet, as well as any of the changes that might be happening in the gig economy. All right, everyone, drive safe.